Hello everyone and welcome on this practical training session of our chapter Food Preservation, Safety and Quality Management. In this video we'll talk about different activities, about exercises step by step throughout 10 exercises designed to help understand different sections of our chapters, such as spoilage mechanism, cold chain failures, hazard identification, sensory evaluation, smart packaging, and HACCP implementation and planning. These activities is reflect real scenarios encouraged in food laboratory, agri-food industry, quality laboratory, and kitchen environment in general. Throughout this session, this practical section, I will show you exactly how to complete each exercise, what to observe, which tools to use, and how to interpret the result. So make sure you have your worksheet stable and not taking materials ready. Let's begin with the first exercise. And this first exercise about flashcards and concept checking about food spoilage mechanism. As you can see, we have different disk A, B, and C. For the analysis for disk one, the objective is to analyze the lab this table, and for each category, you have five spoilage categories such as microbiological, enzymatic, chemical, physical, and temperature abuse. To analyze the different question, the objective is to complete this table and for each category, write what's the cause, the spoilage, typical visible sign, high risk food, and then preservation method for the each categories. For example, under microbiological spoilage, for example, mechanism. Mechanism description is growth of bacteria, yeast, and molds, for example. About indicator include, for example, sleep, gas, fuel, odors, and mold growth, for example. About high risk, for example, of foods include, for example, meat, dairy, and fish. About preservation method, we can talk about refrigeration, hygiene, and preservation, for example. For task task B, DB about create 12 flashcards. Take small index cards or paper, for example, pieces for this activity. On the front right of the concept on the back explanation and make the six cards about the cause and effect for example, and then three about prevention methods and three about food examples, for example, as example for this activity. For about task C, the answered question, direct question, such as we have a different question about this activity related to food spoilage and mechanism. For example, for read each question about aloud and provide your response for each question. For example, for the first question, why do high protein foods spoil faster? If it is no is the question direct question, the response is because proteins support microbial growth and attract bacteria. And once all questions are answered, move to the next exercise. About the exercise number two is a case study about cold chain breakdown during transport. Uh, about this exercise, we have three tasks, task A, B, and C. First, the first task, the objective is to complete a diagnostic table or write hazard tape hazard tape as you show in this task. For example, biological identify likely pathogens, salmonella or other, for example, and under salmonella grout condition suitable, for example, salmonella as explained. And the salmonella you have to to give a response about acceptability, slow but significant growth, for example. Then decide and accept or reject for your analysis, for your diagnostic. In this case, reject or evaluate with stricter criteria exactly. That is for task A. For the question for task B, the objective is to write your paragraph analysis. Mention exactly the danger zone, for example, 5 to 60 degrees, exposure time of two, for example, 2 hours, for example, and cumulative time temperature, for example, 2 hours cumulative risk for this danger, and that chicken is high risk as example for this disk B. For step number three, the objective is to discuss question. You have direct questions, three questions. For example, which or technology or what the technology could detect the temperature rise immediately. Is, for example, we have in the chapter we have talking about different technologies such as IoT sensors, data logger, time temperature indicators, good let and give you different analysis about your response. And you do same for the next question. That is okay for the exercise number two. Or let's continue with the exercise number three. For the exercise number three, the objective is to extend the quizzes and self-assessment. For this, we have different parts, A, B, C, D. The objective for each part is to give the multiple choice for each question. For example, we can read for the first question, the main purpose of blanching is improve color, inactive enzymes, and added practical added preservative. The choice, the response is inactive enzyme, for example. That is the correct answers. And then we do the same for different question two and the three. That is for the first step or task, and for the next task, next part B, it's short answers for each question. For example, define water activity list to two uh, modern packaging technology and identify method that reduce enzymatic browning, such as blanching, for example. For part C, read each sentence and then mark the complete. For example, technology hydration is a thermal process. False or true for you? What is your question? What is your response? That's we are learning all this technology in our chapter. And then for part D about self-assessment is I have a study list For example, for one concept, for one the partially understood and one needed for review for this uh, for this uh, for this part. So we continue with the exercise number 5 about again about the study a case study about foodborne outbreak investigation. The objective sorry, it's about exercise number 4, not 5. It's about storage optimization matrix. That is our exercise for this, our next exercise. And then for this exercise, the objective is to talking about the storage matrix table with different condition and criteria parameters for this related to stockage. So the objective is to complete the table. We have different product categories, and the objective for each item enter the optimal temperature, humidity, sensitivity, shelf life factors, and packaging needed. We have study all this product in our chapter, and objective is to give the complete the table for this first task. And then for the task B, write a short explanation about berries are highly sensitive to mechanical damage, temperature fluctuation, humidity levels. The objective for each the objective is to explain why berries are spoiled quickly in this condition. For step 3 or for task C, the objective is to interpret the yogurt temperature graph to a given temperature graph with a fluctuation between 2 to 8 for your yogurt. Interpret at which point does risk increase. This graph, we have studied this graph in our chapter, and the objective is to give you why this fluctuation between 2 and 8 temperature for your goods, and explain the risk increases beyond the point with different with the this different of of temperature between 2 degrees to 8 degrees for the yogurt for a yogurt, and what corrective action must to be taken for this situation. The objective is to propose action. For example, calibrated color, isolate affected batch, and as solution. This is for exercise number 4. So for exercise number 5 is about in a case studies about foodborne outbreak investigation. The objective of this exercise is in 4 tasks. Task 1, B, C, and D. For the first task is to identify hazard analysis, hazard identification with list of 3 microbiological, 1 chemical, 1 physical hazard, and 1 GHP failure. And about, for example, for a hazard, for a microbiological hazard such as Salmonella, Staphylococcus aureus, or Bacillus cereus, for example, for microbiological. And then we do the same for different other dangers. For stick, for task number B or number 2, field investigation table to complete them. At each step, preparing mixture storage and saving, identify a failure and write corrective actions for each step. For task number C, say the objective is to identify the most likely pathogen explain why, for example, why salmonella is the most probable because the food contains eggs, for example, for this test and do the same for different bacteria such as Listeria and Clostridium. For the fourth task, the objective is a preventive recommendation for this danger. The objective is to include hygiene, temperature control, training of, for example, for use of pasteurized eggs, separation of ustensile, daily batch preparation, all this criteria analysis studied in the chapter about HACCP part. For the exercise number six, objective is to analyze the risk identification and control strategies uh, with the different steps, such as two-step. Task one is about the categories of each situation. We have different situation, and first column, and objective is to complete the table for each situation about risk type, why we have this risk, and your proposal corrective action. For example, for cracked eggs used in recipe, risk is a biological hazard, and as corrective action, it is carried it, for example, or for example, for cleaning agent near flour, chemical hazard, store separately, for example, as solution or as action. That is for the first task, and for the second one about class debate. Two group defined temperature is the biggest risk factor, and the second group uh, talk about uh, talk about cross contamination and the biggest factor. The objective is to compare this two type of dangers and then give what is the main factors responsible of dangers. So the objective is to divide the class in two groups. One team uh, argues that temperature abuse, the biggest risk, and the second the second team, be defined that cross contamination is greater. Let each side present two arguments and define their argument to discuss and to give a conclusion. What is the best factor uh, with the risk, with the biggest risk? This is for exercise number six. Let's continue with exercise number seven. The objective of exercise number seven with three tasks. For the first task about sensory evaluation lab, sensory grade, with the different columns. For parameters, we have different criteria, attributes for different for the first column, such as appearance, smell, texture, flavor, packaging, and we have to complete the table about acceptable scenes, spoilage scenes, your observations. For example, observe appearance or observe or smell or flavor and sweet, and write whether each characteristic is acceptable or shows spoilage scene with complete this table. For task B is complication with question, which scene appeared, for example, the main one cause the spoilage, and it's direct question. For task number three or task C, microbial link, the objective is to identify the spoilage microbe. For example, we can give some example, look for such as a juice The principal microbial link for juice is yeast, for example, and for milk is pseudomonas, for example, and for other products like fruit, it's molds and yeast. So the objective is to give me other example for food for this task. About exercise number 8, the objective is about smart packaging design challenges. That is about new technology to revise our chapter about new technology used for packaging. Uh, and objective of this exercise with this first task, such as task A, is to create packaging prototype, include indicator label, fresh gauge, sustainability feature, and temperature proof feature, for example. The objective of this creation of prototypes is such as formulation, include different criteria, and this based and different in our chapter, and to propose your prototype theoretically about different this criteria explained in this first task of exercise number 8. And then for the second question is about explanatory reports to explain different preservation principes such as MAP or active packaging, for example, described how the indicator react for to pH, for example, or for other condition materials chosen, why expected shelf life improvement, and then to define why we use this prototype for your packaging. For task numbers 3C, peer review of your packaging. The objective is to analyze the creativity of your project, of your product, to explain the preservation principles such as creativity, scientific accuracy, feasibility. Use all this term to define your prototype, your proposal for this exercise. Let's go now for the exercise number 9, such as HACCP mini plan, fresh fruit salad, for example. And for this exercise, we talk about different tasks, 3 tasks exactly. For the first question about fill the table for fruit salad process with different step of process, and we have different columns such as hazard, CCP, criteria limits, monitoring, corrective action. The objective of this task is to practical of HACCP method for to understand for this process step by step, use it for fresh fruit salad. And then for identify for each step for each step the CCP or not CCP, for example, and added criteria, added the different critical limits or monitoring or corrective. This is now it's an exercise step for application of HACCP. For task number B is the answer is answered hazard analysis question. Explain the most critical hazard microbial growth, for example, and how to, and we used and answered different question to understand deeply the HACCP methods. For task number 6, C, the objective is to improvement plan of your methodology, your HACCP methodology. Right, 5 point safety improvement strategy include, for example, temperature logs, better sanitization, verification, separation of tools, and the training. That is all, some example, and we are waiting for your idea, for your proposal about this task. Finally, we have the exercise. The last one is about preservation technique matching game with the three tasks. Task one is objective is to complete the matching table with different counts for the first technical is a new technical with comparison with the last technical that used for preservation technique. And all these technical are presented with details in chapter. For the first technical, HPP about hydration that we use in different technology as a new technology practical in industry, food industry. And this the objective, for example, hydration inactivation for example for juices or MAP is used for modified atmospheric, for example, for as packaging for meats, for example, and for example, for drying, we know, for example, do we can use this technology for reduce water activity for nuts, for example, and you have to complete the table for different other technology used for preservation of food. For the task number two, task B, about question, the objective is to identify the technical preserve nutrient, which method that most effective against enzymatic spoilage, for example, which technical reduce water activity, and the most with this objective is to understand do the comparison between different methods and then understand the principle of different methods. About the task, the last task is about flashcard reinforcement. The objective is to understand this technique on the front, benefit on the back, for example, with the six flashcards as compared with first exercise to for this for to understand clearly the use of technical, what is the technical on front and the advantage on the back, and this it's one of the must exercise that we can do in group and team or individually. That is all for this activity of sporadic activity is a great work, great activity to understand, to identify the hazard, to identify critical control, dangers, spoilage analysis, and packaging innovation and HACCP planning. These skills of this practical part is very essential for ensuring food quality and safety in any professional environment. That is all, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next training session. Thank you.